Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's amazing guest is Holly Celiano. Holly is a spiritual healer, and after our interview, I decided to book a session with her. She was amazing. We spent about 2.5 hours together, and she did something called psychic surgery on me. And I'm telling you, I haven't felt this good in a long time. And this has been almost a week ago. So I wanted to hold her show back a little bit so that I can tell you guys how amazing I feel. If you would like to reach out to her, please email me at tracy@highenergygirl.com and I will give you Holly's contact info. Her website's not ready yet, so I can't point you there, but just go ahead and email me and ask for Holly's information and I will go ahead and I'll forward it to you there. Sound good? So without further ado, let's go and say hello to Holly. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhide, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Guess what, everyone? My book is out. It is a revised and updated edition of a book I wrote 5 years ago called No Frickin' Way, 21 Days to Ditch the Diet and Lose Weight the Keto Way by Loving Yourself to Health. When I first wrote the original book, I was not a believer in the low carb movement, but after all the years of research I've done, I am sold out for life. In this book, you will learn about all the lies you have been fed, how to engage in loving self-care, how to eat nourishing foods that provide massive energy, why the ketogenic diet is not a fad, how to heal your body through fasting, why you should move your body to get stronger, and how to create an empowering mindset. Start reading now and finally achieve the high energy and positive body image you deserve. Check it out on Kindle, on Amazon. And if you like it, please leave us a review because this will help more people find it. I really want to inspire people to not deprive themselves, but to nourish themselves with loving self-care and amazingly healthy food so that they can age stronger. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Hey, Holly, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
So for the listeners that don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I have been on a spiritual path for a very long time, going back into the 80s. And, I had starts and stops with that. I got to a point in the 90s where my husband at the time did not like this path I was going on. It threatened him. I shut down. I wound up getting very, very sick. And through that sickness, I realized it was a wake-up call for me to get back on my path. And I did. And that was in 2009. I had breast cancer and went through a very radical double mastectomy. And that put me on a very different path in my life. And I've not looked back ever since. And I've just been growing and learning more about the world, about myself, about what we're here for. I've been questioning my whole life, what's my purpose? And I realized, I have found my purpose through this awakening of who I really am as a human being, why I'm here on the planet. So a little bit more about me. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. I'm a real estate agent and, am a truth seeker and a person that's on a path to grow as much as I can myself to become the best version of myself each and every day.
Awesome. That's lovely. And I love your teaching, like what you teach now, what I've heard from you before. And that's why I wanted you on the show. But let's go back. Let's go back to when you had the cancer. How did that bring you to like a spiritual journey? Did you do conventional treatment or where were you at that time?
So at that time, I had completely shut down my spiritual path because it was creating a problem in my marriage. And I kept getting sicker through the years, but I realized with breast cancer, that was my biggest fear in life, to have cancer, and I had it. So I realized this is a huge wake up call to get back on my path. And what I what I started doing at that point, it was very interesting. Before I went for my surgery, I was being woken up at 4 o'clock every single morning. And for a month, I would wake up at 4 and I would just sit and journal what was coming up. And I was having these unbelievable conversations. And I had an Indian guy that would kind of just show up, and I'd be in my mind and just write what I'm seeing. And it was an American Indian guide. And I wrote everything that I was being shown and being told. And it was very interesting when I had my surgery. It was a 10-hour surgery. And my doctor that had performed the surgery, she was a very amazing woman in her 70s. And she saw me the next morning, and she was also very spiritual. And she said, Holly, I just wanted to tell you, in the operating room with you, there was an American Indian that was there in the surgery room with you. And I was just blown away because he had been with me that month leading up. And I just realized, I need to stay on this path. And that path brought me a lot of joy, but it also changed my life because I ended my marriage. We sold our family home. I wound up homeless, penniless. I needed to just kind of pick myself up from my bootstraps and, just walk on a new path, which was terrifying. But I knew I had to go this route, and I was guided, and I just kept walking, and I never looked back. And it all served a purpose. And I try to teach this with everybody. Your hardships in life that you think are just, the most crippling and the most horrific things that happen to you. I look at all that happened to me in a very short period of time as a blessing. And I bless them. I don't have any negative feelings towards it. I've done a lot of healing around it. At the time, I was very angry, very bitter, but I've done a lot of deep inner work and healed that. And with that healing, I see they were amazing gifts to change my path, to change the course I was on. And where I am right now, I love the place I'm in right now. But I had to go through those dark days to get to the light, to be where I am now.
Right. It's funny because we talk about like, I love summer, but my husband and I were talking, like, if it was always summer, you wouldn't appreciate when it's here, the
Correct.
warmth. Like if it's always warm, then it's just, you take advantage of it. So,
Correct.
but I relate to that. I've gone through my own health journey, and I believe that all the crap we go through is what makes us who we are today. And I just love learning from you and growing with you. And so if you were to say, what's your biggest like epiphany that you feel like other people, or your biggest words of wisdom that you would tell people? First of all, like, let's lay the foundation. We know that our world is changing.
Correct.
That we are stepping into the golden age of mankind. And I've talked about that on the show. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that and then equip the listeners with what things that would help them so they can be prepared for this?
Sure. So the world is going through a massive transformation, and people don't quite know what it is. They might feel energetically like things are shifting, and we can look around us, and the world has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. It's the breaking down of the old system, it's crumbling. It's, all that we saw the world that we existed in is just crumbling before our eyes. And, people question, well, we want to go back to the way it was. Well, no, that's over. We're in this transition period right now. And as the world is transitioning into this upheaval, and people's lives are feeling that upheaval, they're feeling a transition inside. And that can show up as aches and pains and being exhausted and feeling out of sorts. And, a lot of people are questioning, this world. They're waking up to, well, what is all this all about? And they're starting to search for answers. And it is what they call the golden age. There's cycles every 26,000 years. We have these cycles, and we have moved into that. That started in 2012, and we are now 2022. So we're, 10 years into this unraveling of the old. And it's kind of escalated now the last 2 years with the COVID narrative. And people are really starting to wake up that, oh my God, the government's not what we thought it was. These corporations, pharmaceuticals, they're not what we thought they were. What's in the vaccination that they're pushing us? What is this whole world about? And it's got people questioning, which is great. And you had asked me, what was the other question, the other part of that?
Oh, well, like what wisdom would you have people? Well, let's actually break that down a little bit. So I know that our planet, Gaia, is shifting from 3D to 5D.
Correct.
And we, as humans living on this planet, also many of us are going to be transitioning as well. And can you kind of explain a little bit about what that looks like in your wisdom?
So in 3D, let's talk about the different dimensions. It's really a density if you look at that. So let's go into that. We have a chakra system in our body, which I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the chakra systems, but you have a root, you have a sacral solar plexus, your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown. So those chakra systems, the lower chakra systems from the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, if you look at those as being stacked, and then above that you have the heart, above that the throat, third eye, and crown. So those lower chakras are very dense, very heavy energy. And you could also call them dimensions, because with that, there is a lower consciousness when you're living in those lower chakras in your being. So I'll go into like your third dimension. It's really, you live in a purely physical state. You see yourself as an individual. You're thinking of yourself, you're separate from others. It's survival of the fittest. Your whole focus is, making money, all about making more money. And you see things as either good or bad. And that's living in your lower chakras in the body when you're in that. So in the fourth dimension is starting to move up, and it's a gateway. So from the third to the fifth, it's a gateway of opening you up, starting to think about being more compassionate, being more loving, aware of your diet, thinking, I need to eat better. I should start meditating. I need to start connecting within. and you start developing a healthier lifestyle as you're in this gateway system. You're very aware of what you put in your body. Your intuition starts to grow. And then as you move up into the higher chakras or higher dimensions, you're moving into your heart space and above. And what you really want to get to is to live in your heart space. And when you're living there, you're not down in those lower, heavy, dense energies. From your heart space, you realize that everybody is connected. Everything is connected. You know, my words, what I say, what I do, and what I think has an effect on the world around me. I was talked about this the other day. If you look at yourself as a pebble, you throw that pebble into a lake, there's ripples. You're that pebble rippling out. So if you are living a loving, compassionate life, that's what you're going to ripple out to everything around you. If you're living where you're fear-based and angry, well, that's what you're going to ripple out. So it's learning to live in your heart space, which is you see everybody and everything connected. You see yourself connected to the earth, to Mother Earth. You see yourself, you know, looking up the stars and feeling connected to the stars. You feel connected to the animals. You feel connected to the plants and the trees and all living things. You realize that we are all connected. And then you want to, you live in that space, and everyone is an equal. Every single person is an equal. You don't judge them at all anymore because you realize that they are just somewhere on this path. They could be in that lower density where they're still, you know, struggling to break through and, you know, come up and start living in their heart space. And, you know, that's where you just, in this higher way of thinking, you allow everybody to be who they are because they're on their journey. And it, you know, if you look at yourself and myself, it's taken us years to get to where we are. It's not like you wake up one day and say, oh my God, I'm enlightened, or, you know, I have all the answers. It's still an ongoing process. And even, you know, when you start living in your heart, there's no it to get to, because we're always continuously growing and expanding. And that's what you want to do. I mean, that's our purpose, to just continuously grow and expand. And I had talked about this the other day. The hardest journey, the longest journey, is from the mind to the heart, because most people live in their mind. And that's where all these negative thoughts, negative self-talk, where the judgment comes from, criticism, condemnation, all of it's coming from the mind. So if you have thoughts that are judgmental, let's say, you need to pause and say, well, I'm clearly in my mind, because in my heart space, I wouldn't be expressing that. I wouldn't be thinking that. So we need to be conscious of what we do, what we say, what we think, and pause. If you have something negative come up, or you're going into judgment, or anything that's not on a higher vibrational plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. And it's funny because I've heard before that we don't even know what our own soul contract is. How do we know what somebody else's is?
Correct.
You know, so how can we judge them because we don't know, you know?
Correct.
But it's funny that you said all that, because there's a little thing I learned from one of my teachers, that you were referring to this judgment, right? So if it's self-judgment, then it's our inner critic or inner ego. So we have the ego, the critic, the child, and then the intuition.
Mhm.
And so what she said is that these three, they want to be heard. So you need to acknowledge them. But the intuition is always the winner because it's all from spirit, whereas these are all from our mind.
Correct. And that's the thing, as you start getting on this path, you will develop your intuition, which is your gut feeling, that gut feeling that talks to you. And it's like a muscle. It's got to get stronger and develop. And you want to listen to that. And for me, I get a very profound body reaction if something is not good for me. Like I feel it, my heart hurts actually. If I'm around somebody that's not good, or I'm in an environment that's not good, I instantly get a heart pain and I'm like, okay, I need to get away from this person, or I need to get out of here. And I've really learned to listen to that. And on this path, you had asked what was the one thing for people that are starting out. The one thing that I would say that's going to get you on this path to open up and be able to grow and develop is, we as children are very wounded adults walking around. A lot of us had a lot of childhood trauma or horrific events that have happened to us in our childhood. Certain things when you were a kid have stuck with you, whether somebody told you you would never amount to something, or you're stupid, or, whatever that is. As a kid, you're so impressionable, and we take on all those words and hurts, and it becomes our story. And that keeps going over and over. As an adult, we play that over and over. And for me, the biggest healing that I've done on myself is to work on those emotional wounds and do inner emotional clearing work. And that has absolutely transformed my life, because when you can let go of the emotions, they become a heavy baggage as you get older, and they start weighing you down. And if you can work on getting rid of the negative emotions that we have, because dis-ease is a disease in the body from holding on to negative emotions, because they're stored in your cells in your body, and they get programmed, those cells, and they keep replicating. And over time, they morph into a disease. And when you they become something, when you go in and you clear out those negative emotions and replace them with positive, you can heal yourself. And then you start becoming lighter, and you can see the major transition in your life, like take another course and you heal. And that for me has been, I would say, the absolute number one thing for healing myself of, my cancer. I did have surgery, but I did extensive emotional clearing work to do that. I also did a high dose vitamin C and a B17 drip. And went on a raw foods diet and juicing, and if they told me to stand on my head, I would have done it. So I've done all of that. I never did chemotherapy or radiation or took any of the drugs or anything. So, and that was 2009, and I'm healthy and just continually keep working on myself.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you mentioned the emotional clearing work, because I would love to unpack that with you.
Okay.
So we can help the listeners really figure out what they can do for themselves. So the first question on that would be the things that you need to clear. Do you feel like you need to be aware of them first? So say, for instance, you had a trauma at 5 years old or something. Do you need to be aware of the impact that you have on it now? Or what's the first step in this emotional clearing?
So I'll use myself as an example. So when I started doing this work, I knew I needed to, like, for me, cancer was repressed anger eating away at the self. So wherever cancer shows up in the body is where you're storing that anger. And for me, it was in my breast. I was a nurturer to every single person, but I never nurtured myself. And I was very angry because there was no time for me, being a mother of three and, running a house and raising a family. And I just gave and gave and gave of myself. There was no time for me. And I was, very angry deep inside, though I wouldn't say consciously I was angry. So when I started doing this emotional work, we were working on healing, the cancer in my body. And we started doing the emotional clearing work. And it would go to different, like, when you're guided through this, the body knows exactly where it needs to go to heal whatever. There were things that came up that I didn't even know. There were things from my past life that showed up. I've done probably 70 of these processes on healing myself, and wound up getting trained in it because it changed my life. And
Oh, cool.
yes.
What's it called?
So this is, it's called One. It was developed by my teacher, and there's 27 different processes to clear emotional things in your life. The two biggest one, there's an emotional journey and a physical journey. And those are very extensive, and you're just guided. You're on a journey, you're guided, and your higher consciousness knows exactly where to take you and what to do and how to heal. And things show up, like on those, I would just get flashes of something from childhood that I wasn't even aware of, or I'd get a flash from a past life that didn't even know that was there. I'll give you an example. So after I had gotten a divorce, and after my divorce, I had this stabbing pain in my abdomen. Like, I thought I had, something major wrong with me. So I had gone to the person that was doing this journey work with me, and she said, well, let's, do a process because it's something physical in you. We did. And I went to a lifetime where I saw myself dressed in a Roman garb, and I had two small little children with me, and I had stolen bread to feed them because they were starving. And there was a Roman soldier there, and he had a spear, and he stopped me because I had stolen the bread, and he took the spear and he stabbed it all the way through my abdomen out to the other side. And I remember looking at him, falling down and saying, oh my God, you just killed me. And now my kids are left with no mother. And I died. And I was sobbing during that session. And I realized that Roman guard was my husband in this lifetime that needed to come back to take care of me and my kids because he shouldn't have killed me in that lifetime. So that was his karma to come back and take care of us. And as soon as I saw that lifetime and I realized what that correlation was, that pain went away, and I've never had it ever since. So it's amazing stuff what comes up, because we store, everything is stored in our body from past lives, in this lifetime. It's like a recorder. Our body is a recorder of everything, and it affects us. It's actually stored in, all your cells. And if you see elderly people that are really hunched over and rigid, Well, that's because they have packed in so many emotions that are weighing them down. Literally, they're hunched over and bent over because they haven't dealt with any of these emotions that they're carrying around. And they're rigid, like their body's rigid and stiff because these emotions, have a actual physical reaction in the body. And it does create disease.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe all of that, that it creates disease. And I just was, I'm really curious. So are you a practitioner? Do you do this? Do you take clients
I
to do this?
I do. Yes, I do.
Cool. That
Yeah.
is fabulous. So if somebody wanted somebody listening wanted to do this whole process that you've already done, is this like a journey that you would be able to help people
Yes.
through?
Yes.
Cool. So do you have like a website that they could go to
I don't
or?
have a website. They would have to reach out to you and you could reach out to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then we can just connect you guys over email or
Yeah.
something.
Yep. That's fine.
And how long did it take you to do that entire, like, how long were you working with your practitioner?
To learn to do this,
Well, no, just to start your healing journey.
um, oh gosh, I've been with her since the beginning. I mean, I still from time to time reach out to her. I've taken, Reiki classes and magnified healing classes. Um, this learning this one journey, it's called One. That was a year-long class, and it was very intensive to learn it. And then we had to keep processing ourselves over and over. And it was like, oh my God, I've done so many of these already, but okay, let's dive in deeper and, heal more. And, the more you do these, there's layers, it's not a one and done in healing because we are so packed with emotions that there's layers that come up. And sometimes, when you start doing this, you uncover a layer, but then, maybe a month or two later, another layer will come up. And, it could be then 6 months later, another layer might come up, or, it could be a year. So it just depends on where everybody's at and how much everybody needs to go through. I had a lot of stuff to go through. People look at me now and, you don't think that I had to go heal so much, but really those that dive into this and go very far on this path had a lot that they had to do to get to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a journey. And, I am a perpetual student on this to learn, to grow, to evolve, to keep healing even deeper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I am totally with you. I just got my Reiki master just a couple weeks ago, and I've been doing this whole energy work thing for probably 4 or 5 years. But the crazy thing is, and this is something I want to address, we were talking about it earlier, is so I was, Christian all my life, raised my kids in the church. They went to Christian high school. I mean, we've been on this pathway. And so my friend is like, oh, this new age thing with the crystals and, all this stuff. She's like, I gave her this great gift because she has cancer a second time. She has this form of lymphoma. She had breast cancer maybe 12 years ago. And I think it's because she did one of these, the thing 3 times. And so I believe that that's why it came back. But anyways, so for Christmas, I gave her this healing grid with different crystals for healing. Like, so I told her I would come do Reiki on it and then, charge it up, and then she could have it like in her bedroom or whatever. And she's just like, well, I'm not really comfortable with that. And she thinks that all of this is anti-Jesus, anti-religious. Have you encountered that as well from your
I
friends or
have.
acquaintances?
I have. And, like I said, everybody has their path. that they are on. And there are some that were brought up in religions, and they are very deeply embedded in the teachings of religions. And, I'm not knocking it, and that's what works for them, and that's fine. However, I grew up in a very religious background also, but there were things that I've always questioned about that. And I was always a seeker. And, I started looking outside of that in the 80s, actually. It really started opening me up on thinking of a different way. Didn't even know there was another way that you could be other than what I was brought up in. And those that are still in that confines of the religious teachings, they're in a box and they don't see anything outside that box other than that. And that is their belief system. And anything outside of it to them is, evil. It makes them uncomfortable. They don't understand this because they've been taught that it's not good. So, with people like that, if that's their path, that's their path. And, we have to just let them go on the path, whatever is for them to get to the same destination. We're all, on a different path trying to get to the same place, which is, home. So I have realized when people are so stuck with their beliefs, to just let them, have that belief, because it's not for me to try to awaken them or show them something else. If they ask, if they're curious, I'd be happy to share. But somebody had told me a long time ago, you don't want to give unsolicited advice. So if they're not asking, I'm not going to be the one to broach it, because that's to them what's working. And if I bring something else, it might shatter their world, and they might not be ready to have that world shattered, especially today with how everything is. So, I bless them and say, okay, that's fine. I also wanted to just talk about going back to when I was sick, and my surgeon, who was an amazing woman, she had told me after my surgery, she goes, Holly, I'm going to tell you something. She goes, I can cut cancer out of your body, but the only way you're truly going to heal is if you heal your emotional body, your physical body, your spiritual body, and your mental body. And she said, because if you don't work on all those bodies, then cancer will show up in the body again. And she said, so my advice to you is to go work on yourself and heal yourself. And I did. I took her advice, and I just dove on this path, and I've never looked back, ever. And, anybody else that has any disease, if you're just working on the physical, you need to work on the other bodies, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And that's where true healing takes place. They all have to be balanced. So if you're only doing one, the others are all out of balance. So to have complete healing is to balance all of those. So you're all healed across the board. It's like having a thorn in your side, and it's there, and you've got to pull the thorn out, and you need to heal that. And, you've got to have everything in balance and in wholeness.
Mm-hmm. I love that. But how do you do it? I mean, how do you differentiate between the mental body and the emotional body? To me, it feels like the same.
Well, they're kind of the same. They hold hands. The mental, if you're in your head and you're having these thoughts go off in your head of, negative stuff, that's your mental body. You need to start, reprogramming the mind to put positive in, because positive in, positive out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, start listening to positive podcasts or meditate, calm the mind, quiet the mind. Start reading books that are going to change your mind. Because what you start putting in has a effect on your entire body. Emotions are, if you get triggered, you feel that in the body. So if you are angry, let's say, you're going to feel that anger. Like you could be in such a rage or scream or, throw things or, however you act out, that's your emotions. If you're crying, that's your emotions. If you're, screaming obscenities, those are emotions that are stored. And it's the body trying to release that emotion, but doesn't have the right tools on how to release them and then fill those cells up with something positive. So that's where the emotional release comes in, where you can actually remove that negative in the cell and replace it with something positive.
Mm.
Just give you an example. I did a session on a woman last week, and we were working on anxiety. She's like, I have debilitating anxiety. And I did a session with her, and she wrote me this week and she said, I just want to let you know, since we did our session, I have not had one attack of anxiety at all. And she was so grateful because it was debilitating to her.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing when you remove those triggers inside the cells, how you can, function in life so much better.
Wow. That is awesome. In one session, she felt that big of a difference.
Yes. Yep.
That's cool.
It might not be that for everybody, because everybody's got different things, and it also depends on how deep you go into your own healing, how deep you're willing to release. Because a lot of people are afraid, or they don't want to open up that wound because they don't want to feel it. So they resist it. So if you can just open up, and it might be painful just for a short little time while we're processing, and then you're healed, and then you're set free. And being set free is incredible. Not carrying around all that emotional baggage. It basically neutralizes. You don't ever forget things that happen to you, but you're not triggered by them. They're completely neutralized. Like there's no feeling you could think about. It doesn't even affect you.
So when she came to you with the anxiety, did she know what she was going to be working on or what she was going to be releasing that day?
We knew we were going to work on the anxiety because that was her big thing.
Well, that was her symptom, but I'm saying about the cause. Did you guys already know what cause you were going to work on?
We didn't get into the cause of what was causing it. We just needed to release whatever the emotions were within her body that was creating the anxiety.
Okay. So it's like the energy found it. You didn't have to worry about it.
Correct. I don't need to know, like our bodies, they're so intuitive and so smart. We don't have to do anything. It knows exactly where to go. It knows where it needs to go in the body to heal. If you have breast cancer, it might not be you even go to your breasts to heal. It could be stored somewhere else in the body, or whatever anybody else has. We store these things elsewhere in the body, and they show up as, present as something in the body somewhere else.
Mm. So you said that we have to be willing to go into the emotion in order to release it. So did she have to identify it, speak it out loud to you, admit it? Is that the pain that people are embarrassed? They don't want to admit what is wrong with them? Or
a lot of people they're afraid to open up and say what's wrong with them. The anxiety one is a very easy one. I had done a one of these one journeys with a gentleman this week, and we worked on his emotions because he's emotionally triggered. And I told him, whatever you say is, absolutely kept here. It's safe. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel protected. And, the deeper you can go to release, the more drastic effect you'll have on your healing. And he opened up very deeply, and shared very, deep childhood wounds. But he just messaged me the other day and said it was, absolutely changing him. Like he can feel the changes ongoing. And when you do this, it has a lasting effect. It's actually quantum healing because you're working on a quantum level with the client. It is working on past, present, future timelines. It's working on all levels of consciousness. It's working on a cellular level in your body and between the molecules and in your body. It's working on the mental. It's dramatic how it's not just this lifetime. It clears out all lifetimes and all timelines.
Wow, I want to do it. Seriously, like I love this type of stuff. Do you know who Medina is? Have you heard of her?
No.
I did a session with her. She's from Australia. She said that in one of my lifetimes, I was a Japanese teacher that was really mean to the students. And that was interesting. I was like a male Japanese teacher. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because I've been told that I was a healer during the Spanish flu. I was a herbalist with my grandma in Mexico pre-Christ. But she did like herbal healing and I was like her little helper. It was fun, all that, so I'm always
Right.
been in that wellness space. Well, mostly. So, but I think these sessions sound powerful.
They are. I mean, I can speak for myself. They have absolutely transformed my life. They've healed my life. I'm not the same person I was back then. And it's really interesting when you do these sessions and you release these emotions and you go really deep. Believe it or not, you look younger. I mean, I look back on pictures and you can see the emotions age you. And where I am now, I don't even look like the same person I was because I've gotten rid of all those heavy emotions that were weighing me down and aging me. They do age you. So it's pretty remarkable the effect that they do have on you. And they make you younger and more youthful and you have energy and you feel better and your whole life changes.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know we're running out of time here, but I just wanted to ask one more thing. So if people want to reach out to you, they just need to email me at tracy@highenergygirl.com. But if there was something else that they could just start doing right here, right now to increase their vibration, to just, start their journey, what would you say would be like something, parting words of wisdom you'd want to leave them with?
So people right here, right now, to start off, I would highly recommend getting some really good books to start to read. And one of the first books I read, which I absolutely loved, was Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. It's a fascinating book. Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh was another amazing book. What else? I can see the book, and I can't think of the name of it. But there's many books out there that will start to transform your mind and put you on a path. The other thing I would highly recommend is, do some gentle yoga, because yoga opens up the body in a gentle way. And there's, different poses that open up the meridians in the body and the pathways. And, you can just start stretching, and, there's find very calming meditative music, and put that on, and just, sit quiet for, just start with 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. Just try to still your mind for 5 minutes a day, and you can work up to that. And that's when you tap into your own intuition, when you can still your mind. And you're going to have thoughts. I mean, you can't turn the mind off, but you're going to have thoughts running. Just let them run. And, the mind just kind of has the monkey chatter going on. Just let it go, and just stay with your eyes closed. And, maybe you'll start to hear your inner voice, or, start getting messages, and that can guide you to what to do, or how to do, or what's your path, or it'll just start opening you up to your inner world, because inside of us is so much untapped. In our real world we should live in and find is inside us. There is galaxies and unbelievable stuff in the heart space. If you go in there and close your eyes and focus on the heart, and start to going into the heart and seeing what you find, and it's amazing in there. I journey in my heart and find just amazing pathways, and it's unlimited in there. So that's
Wow.
what I would recommend for people.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Holly. You're a lovely, lovely lady. And I just appreciate you taking some time to share your wisdom and your journey with our listeners and myself. I just want to honor you for that. It was incredible.
Thank you. Well, this was wonderful. So glad you had me on. And, my whole purpose is, if I can just impact one person and change their life, or put them on a different course, then that to me is huge. I mean, that's what we're here for, to help our fellow brethren, to be kind, to be loving. I often talk to my groups is, sow random seeds of kindness. When you're out and about in your day, you don't know what is going on in that person's life, waiting in the grocery store behind you, or, somebody you're passing by. Maybe just say a kind word, do something nice. You don't know what that will do for them. Maybe you're exactly who they were praying for, to just show up, to be nice, to be kind, to say something to them. I'll give you one quick story before we end. So years ago, I was going into my grocery store, and there was a little Greek guy, and he was so upset, and he worked there, and he was on his break. And I said to him, I go, "Are you all right?" I go, "You don't look, like you're having a good day." He goes, "No, ma'am, I'm not." He goes, "Do you have a minute to talk to me?" And I go, "Sure." So they used to have little tables you could go into the grocery store and sit. So I sat down, and he's just started telling me, his sob story, that his son just died, and his wife and he are having problems, and he doesn't want to live, and he's thinking of killing himself. And I sat there listening to him. I probably sat with him 20 minutes. And, I told him stories that, we all have hardships like this, and life is not easy at times. And losing a child is very difficult. I said, but you're still here and your wife is still here. And, you have a purpose if you're still here. So, what is that going to do if you take your life? How's that going to affect your wife? She just lost a son. I said, let's pray. And, I sat there and I prayed with him. And he was so grateful that, I took the time to just listen to him and give him, you know, some attention because he was hurting. And every time I went in the grocery store, he'd always look for me and he'd walk up and down the aisle and just say, I can't tell you what you did to my life. I can't tell you how you changed my life. And thank you. And he would make some Greek food and he'd wrap it up and he'd bring it to me. He goes, I just made this for you and I just want to give you something as a thank you. And he was adorable. But you don't know what that small act of kindness can do because everybody is hurting. We're all wounded adults walking around. People have horrible challenges, especially now with, COVID and what's going on. They just need somebody to be nice and loving and kind to them. And if we can do that each and every day and affect somebody's life, then that's what we're here for. We need to remember how to be towards each other. People are just, too nasty and curt and sharp and cut them off on the road. And, that's not how we're have been conditioned to live that way, but we were born in love and we forgot how to love. And it's going back to learning how to love, be loving, and be kind to everybody, wherever they are on their journey and their path.
Yeah, the law of acceptance.
Yes. Yes. And they all don't have to be where we are. And there's no judgment that nobody's where I'm at because, God, I used to be horrendous back then. I mean, I've done a lot of work to get to where I am, but my thinking was terrible. My emotional body, I was an emotional wreck. And, I'm not that way anymore because I have done a lot of work to get to where I am. And we all can do that. We all, have the same ability. It's just saying, help me. And, and then taking that step to help yourself because some people are terrified to open up and heal.
Yeah. And some people don't realize that's why all the stuff that you talked about helps people think that just because you don't realize it, the dis-ease, the symptom is showing you that something is there.
Correct.
That, that's really cool. Gosh, that story is so beautiful. Are you guys wearing masks where you live? Like at the grocery store?
Well, this was years ago. So no, we weren't wearing masks, but right now, I mean, I don't wear a mask. There's some people that do, some that don't. I'm one of those that don't.
Oh, I don't either, but I feel like I'm the only one.
Well, there's probably, I'd say where we are, there's about half the people don't wear them and half do. So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is really good. You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I'm in California, so there you go.
Okay.
It's like I still see people driving alone in cars with them. I'm like, ay, ay, ay.
Yes. Yes. And I do a lot of hiking and I see them with their masks deep in the woods. And I'm like, okay, what's going to get you out here?
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mountain bike also. And I see mountain bikers and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, how can you breathe with, know? So I'm hoping we're almost done with all of this so people can go back to being at the grocery store, smiling, having conversations instead of, I know that people probably judge me when I walk by without my mask, but I just smile and say hi.
Right. Right. I think we probably have a couple of more months before it's all completely lifted and gone. But it can't go away fast enough because I never thought we'd be 2 years into this. I mean, when it first came out, I thought, oh, okay, a couple months and done. Oh boy. So yeah, it can't go away fast enough.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, join I don't know if you're on Facebook, but I have a Facebook group called High Energy Girls.
Okay.
And I do a weekly meditation that people can jump in if they want, and just different little things. But it's kind of a group. I'm assuming you're over 50.
Yes.
It's for women over 50.
Okay. I'll tell my age. I'm 60.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Holy cow. You look way younger than 60.
Yeah. Well, getting rid of all those emotions.
Gosh, I need some work to do. All my friends,
You don't need a facelift. It's just the emotional clearing does it all.
Well, the funny thing is I have a group of friends from the gym that I met during COVID because the gym was kind of underground, like my old gym that I used to work at,
Right.
They were all, YMCA crazy, but I found another gym. And so I made a whole group of new friends, and some are older. Actually, one's older, but they're younger, and they all do all the stuff, the Botox, the injections, the fillers, all that. And I haven't done that yet. And I said, gosh, one day we're going to be out and everybody's going to think I'm your mom. I'm just like, but hey, not if I do your trick. So
yeah, do the emotional work and you will get younger.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid. I'm going to admit I'm afraid, but I mean, if it's going to make my life
what are
better.
you afraid of?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I'm pretty stoic as far as like my husband cries every time we watch Blue Bloods. He loves the show Blue Bloods. We've watched them all. He cries at every episode. I never cry. Like I feel like I'm pretty even keeled. And the whole idea of feeling like vulnerable, I guess would be the word, or reliving. Like I had some pretty bad things that I can remember that happened. And then it makes me wonder what things I've forgotten and suppressed. And it's just, I guess, fear of feeling maybe out of control or trauma. I guess it's like scraping off the scab.
So we have those feelings from childhood that were traumatic, and we suppress them our whole life. We suppress them, they start creeping up. Nope, we push them back down. And it takes a lot of energy your whole life to keep pushing them down. When you do this work, they come up, you see them for just a moment. You might cry, and then we release them and they're gone. You don't have them creeping up and keep suppressing them your whole life. And then you're set free because they really are shackles in your life. And to grow and be all you can be, we've got to let go of the childhood traumas.
Okay. Well, and then let me ask you this. So when you have a client that does, like say like a bunch of sessions or whatever they need to do with you, how frequently do they come? Is it like once a week, once a month, if they want to do like a series?
It just depends on what comes up for them. You remove a layer, maybe they might not have a layer for 3-6 months, but when they'll know, you'll feel very emotionally charged. And then it's like, oh, I've got to go and figure out what this is or where this is coming from. Or if you're sick, you have, a disease, you might need several just to go deeper to find, to fully clear out all of that energy and emotions creating the disease.
Okay. Well, I'm going to commit that okay. We'll do another calendar thing or whatever, and I'll commit to doing a session to see what it's like. And then I can come back and report on the show another time.
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Okay. I'm nervous, but I'm intrigued. So
Good.
yeah, I'll commit to that. All right, my dear. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great
Thank
seeing you and talking to you. And
Being here.
I'll
It
talk
was
to you very
wonderful.
soon.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Wow, this woman is another amazing lady who helps people on their spiritual journey, helps raise the vibration. You guys, I just can't say enough good things about her. I really recommend doing a session with her like I did, and I look forward to doing another one maybe in a month or so. So we all have little things that we can work on in our personal lives, things that we've suppressed throughout childhood, early adulthood. You know, I lived a crazy, reckless youth, knowing that God had a plan for me, and I'm so happy to watch it unfold now that I'm in my mid-50s. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please share it with a friend. And if you haven't done so already, please leave us a rating and a review over on iTunes so more people can learn from our amazing guests. Thank you so much. Go out and make it a great day. Bye now. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.